Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Let's Be Honest with Peter Kozodoy, the show I created specifically to talk about how powerful honesty is and how much we need it in our lives and businesses. Don't forget to pick up a copy of Honest to Greatness, which is out Tuesday, August 11th of 2020, which is the year of the zombie apocalypse, as we all know. And today I have an incredible entrepreneur here with me. He, like me, loves helping others and has built an organization to do so. Clint Salter. Clint, thanks for being here with me today.
Peter, such a pleasure. Nice to connect again.
Absolutely. So, Clint, give us 3 to 4 minutes and tell us who you are, what you do, and what fires you up.
Sure. So as Peter mentioned, I'm Clint Salter. I'm the founder of the Dance Studio Owners Association. We work with about 35,000 dance studio owners all around the globe. And our mission is to help them to step into the role as the CEO of their business. A lot of dance studio owners start as dancers, then they become dance teachers, and then they're like, oh, I want to open up my own dance studio. And so we help them bridge the gap from being the dance teacher to the owner of their company through helping them with marketing and leadership and operations and finance and all of that fun stuff. And what's got me fired up right now is the world that we are in. You know, we had 4 days in late March to help our studio owners go from an in-person studio to a virtual studio. And it's essentially like starting a new business. So that has been our mission over the last few months, is to keep as many of our studio owners as possible in business by pivoting their businesses and putting them online and re-engaging with their customer base in a brand new way.
You know, one of the things I write about in my book is that if we're going to be honest as business owners, we have to realize that we are always in a pivot, whether we want to admit it to ourselves or not. And those of us who can just sort of like rise from the ashes over and over again, like a phoenix, will be the ones ultimately left standing, and therefore the ones who get the success at the end of the day. So, Clint, you know, when you look across everything you've achieved in your life, take us back to a moment where you had to be brutally honest with yourself. You know, maybe it was personal, family, business issue. What happened? How did you resolve it? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think there's been so many. I feel like in every chapter, I feel like I'm in about chapter 8 of my life at the moment. And I think in every chapter, there are these moments when you have to, you notice something's not right. Like you notice something's not connecting. You feel it. It's that self-talk that you hear, that inner voice that you hear, and everything's pointing to you to say, look, something needs to shift. And for me, it was when I had my company called Dance Life Unite. And I'd grown that company. It was a dance competition and also an online magazine for dancers. And I got to the point where I felt like there was something else I should be doing with my life. Like there was a piece of me that I wasn't fulfilling. There was this like nudge, this little voice saying to me like, there's something else. And that voice happened for about a year before I actually took any action on it. And the action that I took was actually to sell that company. I loved that company. It was incredible. But at the time, I was ready for a different adventure that was going to stretch me and expose me to new things that I hadn't experienced before. So being an entrepreneur, there's elements of risk. And so there was risk in selling that business and moving on to the next venture that I wanted to dive into. And it's hard because everyone around you is saying, why are you doing that? Like, it's an incredible business. You've done so well. You've worked so hard. It's impacting so many people. Why do you want to give it up? Why do you want to sell it and move on to something else where you don't know what the future is going to look like? And so it was very hard. It was very challenging. But I look back on that moment as one of the really crucial pieces of my career and my personal development as well. Because if I didn't sell that business, I wouldn't be where I am today, which is living in a new country, running the Dance Studio Owners Association for the last 6 years. And I have incredible friends and family around me. And I think life would be very different if I didn't take that step and I didn't really listen to my truth.
Yeah. You and I wouldn't be talking right now. I mean, it's amazing the number of things that come from one honest decision. I love that. going a little deeper, right? A little more honest, a little more vulnerable. Tell us about a time when you had your biggest win. Again, could be personal, business, family, and also about a time when you had your biggest loss or regret.
Yeah, I think my biggest, I'll start with the biggest loss. I mean, the biggest loss for me is really when I sold my dance studio. So I've had a couple of businesses. I am onto my fourth. And so my dance studio was my first business. I started it when I was 16 with my friend.
Wow.
And I was young, and we ran that business together for 5 years before I sold my half to her. But I couldn't see a path forward. I was like, you know what, this is really hard. This partnership thing's really tricky. And I often think to myself, imagine if I had the tools and resources that we provide now to dance studio owners, if I had something that could have helped me to kind of navigate the challenges in that business. I wonder if we would have built it up. Would we have franchised it? Would we have sold it? And so I often think about that and the fact that I kind of said, I'm done. This is too hard. So that was probably one of the biggest losses I've had. I will share another one actually that's on the personal side because I think that that's important as well. And that would be my mum was actually diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. And I was living over in the US. I'm originally from Australia. And she was diagnosed actually when I was there to run an event in Australia. And then I had to come back to the US. And one of my biggest regrets is not going home to visit her more during treatment. And during it, I was like, oh, she's fine. She's well looked after. She never had a moment alone. But as her only son, I often think back as every day, every couple of days when I talk to her now, I think to myself, family has become very important to me over these last couple of years. And I just think to myself, I wish I could kind of go back in time and spend more time with her during what was a very, very challenging time of her life.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What about in business or how about some of your big wins?
Yeah, big wins. I mean, I feel incredibly grateful that I have the entrepreneur spirit of being able to start things and sell things. And I think the biggest thing for me, biggest win from a business perspective is really getting the Dance Studio Owners Association to $1 million. It happened a couple of years ago. And I had this goal to build $1 million company. I had never done it with my previous businesses.
Amazing.
And so thank you so much. And so when I reached that amount in revenue, annual revenue, majority of it was recurring, which made it even a bigger win. I was very, very happy because I had that goal. We always have a goal of like, if it's running a business, it's $1 million or it's X amount of customers or, so for me, that was really huge. That was really huge. So that has been a massive win. And on the personal side, my big win was 3.5 years ago, moving to the US from Australia. I'd been visiting the US for about 7 years, a couple of times a year for different events. And I got a visa and my friend said to me one night, "You're always so happy when you come back from the US. You're always happy when you're there. Why don't you move there?" And literally after that conversation, 6 weeks later, I'd moved to the US. So a huge risk. I didn't really know anyone here. And I'm incredibly, incredibly happy and joyous that I made that decision because it has been a really impactful one on the personal side of my life as well as the professional.
Well, fortune favors the bold. And, someone recognized in you something. And you could have said, oh, yeah, I mean, I guess I seem kind of happy when I come back, and maybe dismissed it, right? Instead, it sounds like you got really honest about that, right? All right, what does this maybe mean for me?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big week, and I make decisions very quickly, often. And so lots of talking to friends, talking to my family, but it was that inner voice again. Like we can't not listen to it when it's tugging and it's tugging and it's tugging. You've got to have some space and silence. For me, when I'm making a lot of big decisions, I have to create space and silence for me to slow everything down. Because, you know, when we're getting all of these notifications and life is moving so quickly and we're always consuming content, it's hard to make decisions because we're not allowing ourselves the breathing space to really sit in it and think about it. So yeah, I did that and pushed the green button, and 3.5 years later, here we are.
I love that. Give yourself space, right? Space to understand what's true. Absolutely love that. Clint, where can people find out more about you and your work and follow you along?
Sure. So you can go to dsoa.com. If you're a dance studio owner or interested in being a dance studio owner, you'll get a bunch of great free resources there. Or you can go to my website, clintsalter.com, for more on me and to connect.
I love it. And as you know about me, I'm not a dancer, but I was a figure skater. Now I'm just, you know, an eater, I guess. I eat too much. Anyway, so listen, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you have not gotten your copy of Honest to Greatness yet, but you think honesty can help you, you are intrigued by using it as a strategy, not as a touchy-feely, right? This is not an ethics book. This is a how to achieve results in your life and business book. Please pick up a copy of Honest to Greatness wherever books are sold. Clint, thank you so much.
Thanks,
everyone
Peter.
out there. Till next time, I'm Peter Kozodoy. Thanks for being honest.